Welcome to the mystery of history, a whispered journey through time. Here we explore the past, not with urgency or drama, but with quiet wonder, with stillness, with a steady, calming voice designed to guide you toward rest. Perhaps you are listening in the dark, or with a soft lamp beside you, glowing like an oil lamp in some distant age. Perhaps you are winding down, letting the noise of your day slip away like sand falling through fingers. Tonight's story is one of marble and mud, of grandeur and grime. We return to ancient Rome, not the heroic Rome of textbooks and triumphal arches, but the living, breathing city beneath the surface. The Rome of narrow alleys and cracked clay pots, of communal latrines and borrowed sandals. A place where glory belonged to the few, and struggle was a constant rhythm for the many. Over the course of this episode, we'll wander slowly through 4 chapters, each exploring a different side of life in the Eternal City. We'll begin in the shadowy stairwells of a Roman insulae city tenement packed with life. Then we'll shift to the story of Gaius Gracchus, a man whose calm resolve challenged the Senate and paid the price. Next, we will descend into the watery veins of the empire, its aqueducts and ritual baths. And finally, we'll recline in luxury for a feast in a domus where wealth whispered its own language. So, settle in. Let your body grow heavy. Let your thoughts loosen. And join me now as we begin our journey. Imagine, just for a moment, you open your eyes, and you are no longer in your room, in your time. You are in a single dim space, barely larger than a storage closet. The ceiling is low. The air smells of oil smoke and mold. You are in an insula, a Roman apartment building, built quickly and cheaply, stacked tall with the lives of the poor. Your straw mattress rustles as you sit up. There is no glass in the small hole in the wall that serves as your window, only a fraying cloth to block the wind. It is morning, though the sun has not yet warmed the stone. You can hear it, the sound of Rome waking. Carts creak down cobbled streets. Footsteps tap above you, below you, beside you. Thin walls allow in every cough, every murmur, every clang of a pot. A child cries 2 rooms away. Water sloshes in a bucket carried by a neighbor. Somewhere outside, a pig snorts, and the sharp call of a vegetable seller cuts through the air. This is your world. There is no kitchen, no toilet, no privacy. You rise, stretch, and reach for the rough tunic folded at your side. Wool dyed brown from years of use, stiff at the hems. Your sandals are made of leather strips, knotted tight. The sole is already worn thin. You step carefully down a narrow wooden staircase. It groans under your weight. The building is 4 stories high, and you live near the top, closer to the sky. But farther from safety, fires are common. Collapses, too. In the small courtyard below, families gather at the public fountain. The line has begun to form. You bring your clay jug, careful not to bump the beggar sleeping at the threshold. Water is rationed. You know to wait patiently. Children chase each other through the dust. A woman sweeps ashes from her doorway. The water drips slowly, each drop echoing in the stone basin. Once you've filled your jug, you make your way back, past the baker's stall already warm with the scent of flour and smoke. He has small loaves today, coarsely made, given out as part of the grain dole. You trade a chip token and receive a round, hard loaf. It will be your meal perhaps for the day. You work as a porter in the forum, lifting crates, hauling goods, sweating through your tunic by the second hour. The stones under your feet are hot by midday, and the shade is scarce. Lunch is brief. A handful of olives, maybe a boiled egg, if you are fortunate. Wine diluted with water. No one drinks it pure. Then back to work. The rhythm of Rome beats on. As the sun sets, the insula comes alive again. People return home, Hungry, sore, sun-darkened, the halls fill with chatter, footsteps, the scrape of bowls. There is no evening entertainment, unless you count the distant shouting from the tavern or the squeak of a lyre played on the rooftop. You hear a dispute next door, a man, short-tempered. A lullaby is sung faintly above. A mother's voice, tired, steady. And finally, you lie down once more, back on the straw. The cloth over the window dances in the night breeze, and the city sighs, breathing in, breathing out, never quite asleep. This was the heartbeat of ancient Rome, not carved in marble, but whispered between crumbling walls. As twilight lingers over the Roman hills, let us leave behind the crowded alleys and move quietly now into a different kind of shadow, a quieter place, where ambition walks not in the roar of the crowd, but beneath marble porticos and shaded courtyards, where the fall of a man is not sudden, but slow like dusk settling across a city. Here begins the story of Gaius Gracchus, a name whispered with reverence and caution. A man born into privilege, yet drawn to the people. Imagine him, if you will. Gaius, the younger brother. Dark-haired, precise in speech. Educated in Greek philosophy. Raised in a domus filled with scrolls and statesmen. He was not the first to dream of reform. His older brother, Tiberius, had already shaken the Roman order, calling for land redistribution, daring to limit the vast estates of the wealthy, and paying for it with his life. Gaius watched his brother fall on the Capitoline Hill, watched the Senate turn its gaze away, and yet he did not withdraw. Years passed, quietly. He served in the military, posted far from the city's unrest. Perhaps he thought, in those distant provinces, that change could still be made. Perhaps he believed that justice, if approached more calmly, might survive. When he returned to Rome, it was not with fanfare, but the people remembered his name. The Gracchi name, a name tied to bread and fields and fairness. And so, Gaius was elected tribune of the plebs, and unlike many who wore the title for show, he acted. He proposed new laws many. Laws that curbed the power of the Senate. Laws that gave grain at reduced prices. Laws that opened citizenship to Rome's Italian allies, an idea radical and deeply unwelcome to many elites. He spoke not in fire, but with a cool clarity, measured, resolved. In the forum, his voice was soft but firm, his gestures restrained. And yet, his very presence unsettled Rome. You see, reform, however calmly it is spoken, carries weight. And when it begins to shift the ground beneath those who are comfortable, that weight becomes dangerous. Opposition brewed slowly. Senators muttered in cloisters. Whispers turned to warnings. In his second term, the tide began to turn. Gaius was no longer the quiet reformer. He was painted as a threat, a man too clever, too persuasive. And then, a moment, a single act. A magistrate, opposing Gaius, was struck dead during a protest. Not by Gaius himself, but by one of his supporters. That was all the Senate needed. They issued a decree, the Senatus Consultum Ultimum, a rare and chilling phrase. It meant, let the consuls protect the Republic, by any means necessary. A polite euphemism for what was to come. Gaius fled, not in cowardice, but to avoid bloodshed. He crossed the Tiber River into the gardens of a temple. There, among the trees, he sat, with just a few friends, quiet, waiting. He knew the end was near. Rather than be captured, he chose his own moment. His body was never honored, never buried with dignity. His memory was twisted, reshaped by those who feared him. But the rhythm of his voice, the calm determination of his cause, would linger. Later generations would debate him. Was he too bold, too pure? But the people remembered that for a time Rome had a tribune who spoke softly, but whose footsteps echoed long after he was gone. And so, From the lofty ideals of a single man, we descend once more into the undercurrents of daily life, where water and ritual and hidden architecture shape the city from below. Let us now wander beneath the marble. Let us now descend softly beneath the shimmering surface of Roman life, not into politics nor the hum of tenement streets, but into something older and quieter, the flow of water, the hush of steam, the solemn murmur of ritual. Imagine yourself standing before a Roman Thermae public bath complex. The air is thick with warmth, tinged with the mineral scent of whetstone and scented oils. The soundscape is gentle water trickling through pipes, a broom brushing marble, the low drone of distant conversation. You are not here to cleanse only the body, but also, in some quiet way, the mind. But to begin this journey, we must go farther back, to the mountains, to the springs that bubble near ancient woods where Rome's aqueducts are born. The Romans were not the first to tame water, but they were perhaps the most methodical. Their aqueducts, stretching for miles, moved not in haste, but with purpose, carved stone by stone with such precision that the slope was often no more than a finger's width over 100 paces. And yet the true marvel was not in the grandeur, but in the silence. Water traveled underfoot, unseen, along the ancient Aqua Appia. Then later, more elegant siblings, the Aqua Marcia, the Aqua Claudia, each carrying life into the thirsty heart of the city. This water would arrive in great cisterns, often underground, where it would rest, settle, be filtered by the slow work of gravity. From there, it was distributed to fountains, homes of the wealthy, and of course, to the baths. Ah, the baths. They were not only places to cleanse, but to gather, to discuss, to gossip, to read, and occasionally to conspire. You enter the apoditerium, the changing room. The stone is cooled beneath your feet. Slaves move about, collecting garments in woven baskets, rubbing oil into the shoulders of senators and bakers alike. Next comes the tepidarium, a warm chamber. Steam curls through the air like incense. The temperature eases your muscles. Here, time slows. The caldarium, hotter still, greets you with a burst of warmth. The floor, heated by hypocaust, a Roman invention, radiates a gentle, steady heat. It is the closest thing to stillness in Rome. Men speak here in low tones. Deals are murmured, letters read aloud, and sometimes rituals unfold. Yes, for beneath the surface of hygiene and routine, the baths carried deeper meanings. In certain hours, certain corners, they were places of initiation. Mystery cults, often Greek in origin, found their way into Roman hearts. The cult of Mithras, for example, met in subterranean chambers, Mithria spaces echoing with soft chanting, lit by flickering oil lamps. These were not orgiastic or violent gatherings, as later writers imagined, but rather solemn rites. Rites of rebirth, secrecy, and silence. The baths, in their winding halls and warm concealment, offered privacy. And what of the women? Their bathing hours were separated often in the morning. The experience was different, yes, but the rhythm, the ritual remained. They too shared in oils, massages, conversations. They too sought warmth against the chill of marble. For all their reputation of extravagance, the Roman baths were deeply democratic. Entry was often cheap, sometimes even free. A baker's apprentice could share a hot stone bench with a former consul, a mosaic beneath your feet, a whisper in your ear, a moment's peace in a restless world. Yet this system, this quiet glory, depended upon invisible labor. Beneath the tiles, under the domes, men worked in soot and sweat, tending fires, cleaning chambers, maintaining flow. Like the aqueducts themselves, they were rarely seen, but always present. And so, as you dry your skin with a linen cloth and step back out into the light, you carry with you not just cleanliness, but a sense of connection, to stone, to water, to the unseen hands that shape the empire from below. Let us now rise from heat and shadow and step into candlelight and perfumes, where the wealthy dine on stuffed dormice and grape wine thick as syrup. Let us enter the domus. Let us now ascend from the warmth of public baths and the bustling noise of the streets into the quiet refinement of another world, a world hidden behind thick stone walls, shaded courtyards, and silent porticos. The Roman domus, a private residence of the wealthy, a place where luxury was not only displayed, but performed. Imagine yourself standing at the entrance of such a home. A modest door, perhaps, but beyond it, a hallway stretches inward like a corridor into another realm. The air is cool here, dimly lit by the sky above an open atrium, where water collects in a shallow basin impluvium, and above it, the heavens are framed by the carefully crafted square of the compluvium. This design is deliberate. It draws your eyes upward and makes the earth beneath feel still. A servant greets you, not warmly, but with quiet formality. You are not a guest, yet you are an observer, a drifting presence. You pass by frescoed walls painted in ochre and crimson, dancing figures, tales from myth, a satyr chasing a nymph, Dionysus reclining beneath vines. The walls tell stories before a word has been spoken. In the triclinium, the dining room, a feast is being prepared. 3 couches form a U-shape. Each is draped with textiles deep blue, plum-colored, embroidered with fine threads. Soft pillows, scented with lavender or rosemary, support the reclining forms of senators, poets, merchants, and the occasional guest from abroad. They do not sit. They lean. The posture is deliberate, both decadent and practical, allowing the hands to be free for food or subtle gestures. The table is low, but abundant. Silver platters gleam. Bowls of olives, some soaked in honey and spices. Dishes of fish in garum, that pungent fermented sauce Romans adored. And then delicacies. Figs stuffed with pine nuts, roasted songbirds beneath a crust of herbs, mushrooms in wine, and dormice, yes, dormice plumped with minced pork and dipped in poppy seed honey. Servants move with practiced grace. They do not speak unless addressed. Their tunics are simple, but clean. They offer small cloths to dab the fingers, bowls of rosewater for cleansing. As the meal unfolds, so too does the game, not one of dice or wooden pieces, but of words, of status, of subtle shifts in power. A host may praise a guest's wit while subtly mocking his sandals. A senator might recite lines of Virgil, or pretend not to notice when another quotes them poorly. It is not unkind, but it is calculated. This is a feast, but also a performance. Wine flows not in excess, not yet. It is diluted, as is Roman custom, and served in cups of blown glass or painted clay. The pouring is done from slender amphorae, often bearing the name of the vineyard Falernian, perhaps aged to a richness like figs left to sun-dry. Musicians might arrive, a harp, a flute, or simply the echo of a singer's voice from the garden beyond the wall. Sometimes a reader is brought in to share verses from Ovid or the Annals of Livy, depending on the mood. Other times there is only silence, the quiet clink of cups, the hush of thick fabric, the occasional laugh measured, never loud. In the corner, a painted statue watches. Perhaps it is a household god, a lar, or perhaps it is simply decor, its gaze fixed for centuries. Later, the dishes change. Dessert arrives, dates soaked in wine, almond pastries dusted with snow-like sugar, cheese soft, tangy, perhaps wrapped in fig leaves, and the conversation turns toward politics, always in the distance, or dreams, or omens, or the movements of the stars. For the Roman elite were as concerned with signs as they were with senates. You may find, In one corner of the domus, a man gazing into the flame of an oil lamp. Not for light, but for answers. And somewhere, always, there is an exit. A servant's path, a discreet stair, a door to the peristyle garden, where moonlight filters through laurel trees and the scent of citrus clings to the stones. There is serenity here, but not simplicity. The domus, like the republic before it, rests upon careful balance and performance, and beneath it all, silence. Let us now draw away, slowly, from the table, from the garden, from the subtle rustle of togas against marble. We leave the feast behind and step gently into reflection. It is time for our closing thoughts. And now the oil lamps dim. The voices of the feast grow faint. The marble corridors fall silent, and the ancient city slips once more into the hush of distant memory. We began our journey in the shadows of a Roman insula, where daily life was a rhythm of necessity. Simple tools, shared burdens, and ceaseless sound. There, you woke to the clatter of wagons, the scent of bread, the press of bodies in stone stairwells. From there, we followed the quiet footsteps of Gaius Gracchus, a man whose life unraveled not with fury, but with quiet consequence. His reforms, his hopes, his downfall, woven into the stone fabric of the Republic, forgotten by many, but still whispering in the forums and fields. Then we slipped beneath the baths, into the arteries of Rome itself, its aqueducts, its rituals, its mysterious inner workings, where water was power and cleansing, both a habit and a symbol. And finally, we reclined in the candlelit chambers of the domus, where the elite played at gods for an evening, where cushions and perfumes masked the currents of ambition flowing just beneath the surface. It was elegance, but never ease. So now, dear listener, we return to the present, to a softer bed than straw, to walls that do not leak in winter, to the hum of electricity and the quiet promise of rest. Perhaps you are already drifting. Perhaps the names and images are dissolving into mist. Let them settle gently into the corners of your dreaming, for history is not only a record, it is a rhythm. And in that rhythm, there is comfort, there is pattern, there is the soft, endless turning of time. Thank you for joining me on this whispered journey through Rome, not of marble, but of flesh, of breath, of daily struggle and silent triumph. Until next time, may your night be peaceful, your thoughts be slow, and your dreams as quiet as the footsteps of history fading into dusk. Good night.